visual recreation, the essential video guide to winning FML each and every week. I'm your local finger snapper, Drew.
And I'm Joey, the strategy guy, and we have a full slate of movies this week. So let's jump right into the new movies.
There's 3 new wide releases this weekend, but the first movie we're looking at is The Addams Family.
That's right, The Addams Family is back, and it's animated, so you can go ahead and take your whole family this Halloween season to the theaters to see the original Halloween family go on crazy adventures.
That's right. Now, this movie stars Oscar Isaac of Star Wars fame, Charlize Theron of Mad Max Fury Pain, and Chloe Grace Moretz of Greta Infamy in this movie, just to name a few.
Let's move on to Gemini Man, shall we? Now, Will Smith plays an elite assassin, but come to find out he's being chased down by a younger version of himself. Yeah, clones? Maybe. What's the Smith gonna do?
Well, that's a good question. Now, this movie stars Will Smith twice, if we already haven't said it enough. Also includes Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Clive Owen.
Yes, now Gemini Man was directed by Ang Lee, who gave us some pretty good movies like Life of Pi and Brokeback Mountain.
Man, I love me some pie up in the mountains. Now, our final new release we're looking at is Jexi. Now, an all-around hot mess of a human being named Phil gets a new phone with a program called Jexi, which is an AI life coach, and a friendship starts to spur against them. Or is something more sparking between them?
Interesting. Now, this movie stars Adam Devine, Ron Funches, and Rose Byrne as Jexi.
That's right. Now, Jexi was written and directed by John Lucas and Scott Moore, who worked together on Bad Moms Christmas, 21 and Over, and The Hangover.
Yeah. Alexa, take us to the crunch. Now, according to Box Office Mojo, The Addams Family is premiering in an estimated 3,400 theaters, and Pro Box Office has its long-range forecast at around $23 million, which last week it kind of spiked up to 28%, which is pretty good.
That is a good sign. Now, Pro Box Office also has this at an opening weekend range of about $21 to $26 million, and The Addams Family is PG for pretty good.
For pretty good. All right. Now, when looking at comps, we were inclined to take a look at Hotel Transylvania, which premiered in 2012 in over 3,300 theaters, and it made $42.5 million. But keep in mind that it came out in 2012, and the cast was essentially an animated monster version of the movie Grown Ups, so that could play a factor.
Definitely. And the next comp we looked at was Goosebumps, that came out in 2015 in over 3,500 theaters to $23.6 million. Now, we are looking at Goosebumps because it captures the spirit of Halloween, and it's a kids movie that stems from a known IP, but this isn't animated, so that could also play into a factor of whether Goosebumps is actually a decent comp or not.
Yeah. Now, the next movie that we're looking at is Gemini Man, and according to Box Office Mojo, it's premiering in an estimated 3,400 theaters, and Pro Box Office has its long-range forecast around $28 million.
That's right. Now, Pro Box Office has its opening weekend range of around 26 to 31 million. It's rated PG-13, and right now it's not doing well in the early reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, as it currently sits at like a 29%.
That's the wrong way.
Great.
Yeah, not good at all.
Not great.
But for comps, we first looked at the movie Life, that premiered in 2017 in over 3,100 theaters, and it made $12.5 million. Now, Life is rated R, and it premiered in March, but it had a star-studded cast and a bit of a far out there concept.
Yeah, so I agree. Now, when looking at Will Smith movies, we looked at After Earth, that premiered in 2013 in over 3,400 theaters and made $27.5 million. That also starred 2 Smiths. But when looking at Will Smith's recent track record, he had some major box office home runs with Aladdin and Suicide Squad, but other than those 2 major like Disney and superhero movies, it's not looking that great on Will Smith's track record. He just doesn't have that pool like he used to.
Well, the next movie, of course, is Jexi, and Box Office Mojo has it premiering in 2,500 theaters, and Pro Box Office has the long-range forecast to around $7.5 million. So that's it dropped like 6% or so since last week, and it hasn't been trending in the right direction ever since. So.
That's right. Now, Pro Box's opening weekend range has this around 7 to 12 million, so it's flirting with that low the low end of that long range.
Yeah.
And Jexi is rated R. Now, when looking at comps, we first looked at Why Him, which premiered in 2016 in over 2,900 theaters to 11 million. Now, that was also rated R. It had some star-studded people in it. And it made a decent amount of money, but it also came out in December, so be aware it could be inflated because of Christmas numbers, and I mean, $11 million is not really inflated, so.
Yeah, and now when looking for Adam Devine comps, we had to look at Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, which also premiered in 2016 in over 2,900 theaters to $16.6 million. Now that was a rated R comedy, but also remember that it premiered in July. It was based off of the viral true story and had a star-studded cast with Anna Kendrick and Zac Efron. So that is a big difference factor there.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely an Efron factor to Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates. I wouldn't have watched that movie as much as I have if it not for Zac Efron.
All right.
And I'm willing to admit it. Now let's go into the movie radar, or
The Modar.
Alright, so I'm going to get into my thoughts on all these movies real quick. I don't want to take too much time because I feel like people already know how I feel about these movies. But for the Addams Family, that one's the most promising of these movies coming out. It has a known IP. It's animated. It's in October. It's people have some good stuff with the Addams Family, whether it's the one that came out so long ago in black and white or the newer movies. But they're near and dear to people's hearts, and they love to watch them, and they're always being played. So for the long range forecast, I like it above. It's like around its higher end point of the long range forecast. I know that Abominable came out very recently. It came underneath it, so be aware of that. But I also think that Abominable is not coming out at the right time of year, if that makes any sense. So with that being said, I like the Addams Family this weekend to hit around its higher end long range forecast. Gemini Man, I don't have a ton of faith in it, but I think it has a relatively solid floor of high teens, low 20s. Again, Will Smith factor. If one Will Smith isn't working in some of these movies, why not put him in twice and see if that works? I just don't know how well that worked out for this one. Also, it's giving me a very Replicas type of vibe, that Keanu Reeves movie that came out in January. That one did not do so well, but it did not have, it had Keanu Reeves, but it didn't have the main director, high-name director, or a big studio behind it. But it's still giving me those kind of vibes where it's like a cheesy sci-fi. I don't know who's gonna really be pushing to go out to see this 29% rated movie. And then Jexi is dead on arrival for me. It has a very low bar at 7.5, and it's not trending in the right direction. I think right now I haven't seen any buzz or advertisements for this movie. I just saw the trailer not too long ago, and it was like on YouTube, I think. So I don't think it's looking good. So 7.5, I think that's too high still. So I'm going with $5 to $6 million. It just depends on pricing this week, how it's going to work out, and how it fits into your Cineplexes. But
now, the Addams Family. Are we still doing that?
I guess.
All right. I think the very stylistic approach they took with the animated characters may not be the best thing for fans of the Addams Family. Like, I don't think that's really making people want to go see it. So I'm putting this on the more lower end of the spectrum with the low $20 million. I think that that seems to be the low bar for animation studios lately. Even the well-known studios like DreamWorks with Abominable that just came out recently, it made in the low 20s. Then if you look all the way back to when Captain Underpants came out, that also made a lot lower as well. So I think the low bar is in the 20 million, so I'm going to put it 21 million. Looking at Gemini Man, I think Will Smith still has that popularity factor. At least somewhat. He's still relevant. He's got his YouTube channel that's blowing up. Everyone's watching. But yeah, 27 million for Gemini Man. It's going to come in higher than Addams Family. Jexi, on the other hand, I think that's still going to be close to what its long range forecast is, $7.5 million. I think it's going to hit on that low side. However, I also think that it's a movie that has potential to surprise a lot of people, to maybe reach double digits with 10 or 11 million dollars.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say surprise a lot of people by going lower.
No,
like 2 million.
I feel like comedies, they in Fantasy Movie League, they have the potential based on their pricing and all of that stuff as well, but they have the potential to surprise a lot of people based on when they come out, based on the movies that they're going up against. Gemini Man, very different from Addams Family animated, both very different from Jexi. So I think it could have a surprise factor. Moving right along, we're gonna jump right into the FML Shoutout. All right, now FML Shoutouts, looking at a post actually by the Fantasy Movie League Quality Assurance. And they actually posted, customize your FML profile. And I think that's really cool. You can go into your settings, you can not only change your name and the little bit of stuff that you could do before, but now you can pick your favorite movies.
Oh yeah.
You can pick your favorite movie theaters. It shows your history, your how many chatter posts you have out there, how many perfect cineplexes you've made. It shows your chatter hearts. It's cool to have a little customizable thing that you can share with your friends, different things about what you like.
Oh, definitely. I think this is a really fun, it's easy on the eyes now, and I think this is really fun. You get a customizable aspect to the game. You make it a little bit more personable. So go out there, create your own profiles, and show the world how much you love Joe Dirt and Pitch Perfect 2.
That's it. We're done with this episode. Thank you so much for watching and stopping by. Hit the like, comment down below. Let us know your thoughts on these movies. Don't forget to subscribe. And remember,
sometimes you gotta risk it to get that biscuit. And get jiggy with it.